Hello and good morning to everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear me clearly from wherever they're joining us from. Right, so welcome to today's webinar where we'll be discussing about business outsourcing. This is a very critical topic for businesses and even for HR practitioners, because always we are thinking, is it wise to have this staff in-house, or we transfer them to another party, which we now call the third party. So to help me discuss this conversation is one of my friends and a HR expert. His name is Stephen Matt Amadalo. He is a consultant with Baseline Resourcing and Personnel Limited. Baseline is an end-to-end HR consulting firm based here in Nairobi, Kenya. Stephen has over 25 years of experience in human resource management, gained from the region here in Kenya and in Uganda, across various industries, that is manufacturing, indenting, retail, health services, and HR consulting. Also the educational service sector. Stephen holds a bachelor's degree from Kenyatta University and a higher diploma in human resource management from the College of Human Resource Management. He is a practicing member of the IHRM, that's the Institute of Human Resource Management, in good standing. So without much further ado, I'll welcome Stephen just to take us through the process of outsourcing. When is it good for a business to outsource, whether it's services or staff or job functions? When is it right, or when should people or businesses consider to outsource services? Myself, my name is Purity Wanjiro. I'll be your host for today. I head the company, Accurex Leadership and Management Consultants Limited. Accurex is a HR consulting firm as well. We specialize in training, recruitment, team building, mentorship, coaching. I'm very keen to discuss more about our company at the end of this program. But for now, we'll have a presentation for 45 minutes. And at the very tail end, for 15 minutes, we'll have a question and answer session. So if you have any questions as Stephen continues to present, feel free to just drop them on the chat box, and we'll be able to attend to them at the end of the session. Other than that, welcome everyone, and Stephen.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I hope I can be heard. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that intro.
Yes.
Is everybody hearing me?
I believe everyone should be hearing you.
Okay, good. As Purity has said, is that I've been in HR for quite a few years. I don't call them many because I know there are others who have been there longer than me. Regardless, I don't have many papers as many people do have. My papers is experience. And I can see my good old friend Kivioles from Mombasa is in the house, and he knows that I know about HR outsourcing because it's a field we have handled with him in the past. I just wanted to ask ourselves a basic question. What do we consider as a successful organization? This, I hope, will be a question that will be answered along the line as we discuss more in this session. Okay, I will share my screen so that we can be able to see the presentation.
Yes.
Although I just called it outsourcing, I want us to look at what is business process outsourcing. First, we define it, and then thereafter, we look at all areas of business outsourcing. I know many HR people, me being included when I was still in mainstream employment, we used to dread being outsourced. We thought that we would lose control. We knew that everything will be taken away from us. Those employees who have been reporting to us will no longer be reporting to us, etc., etc., etc. But one of the things that we tend to forget is that in life currently, everything is outsourced. Like the parcel services, I don't think there's a company that ships their goods from Nairobi to Mombasa, especially parcels, by themselves. They call a courier company, and that courier company is actually an outsourced service. So let's define what is outsourcing. I have three definitions, which says the strategic use of outside resources to perform activities, wow, just a moment. I think I have to move this down here. Yes, it is a strategic use of outside resources to perform activities traditionally handled by internal staff and resources. In general, then we can say business process outsourcing is the practice of contracting a specific work process or processes to an external service provider. I have mentioned earlier about the courier services. As we go along, I'll also be mentioning other areas that we outsource without knowing that we are actually outsourcing. So a working definition of outsourcing is, if you look on the left, we have got the company, and we look on the side, on the right, we have got the outsourcer, or what we call the contractor. So we have got a company on one side, which is the client, and outsourcing company, which is on the right. Then in between here, we have got the services to be offered. Then we have got what we call organization level agreement or service level agreement. So outsourcing denotes the continuous procurement of services from a third party, making use of highly integrated processes, organization models, and systems and information systems. This is actually a very simplified way of putting it, that we are talking about integrated processes. We are talking about organizational models, and we are talking about information system. In other words, you use all the three areas. That's the processes, the models, and the information communication systems to enable a business to excel. So a company should, let's look at why outsourcing. A company should be engaged in only the front room activities that are critical to supporting its core business. Backroom activities should be handed over to other companies for whom these tasks are the front room activities. What am I trying to say? If you have read the late management guru, Peter Drucker, you'll find that do what you best and outsource the rest. What he meant. Even attributed to him, a company should be engaged in only the front room activities that are critical to supporting business, and backroom businesses or activities should be handed over to another company. In other words, those that you do best is what you engage in, and those that you know that you don't do best, you hand over to other companies. I have known some companies, big multinationals, whose sales force is all outsourced, but they are critical in achieving their core mandate. So provide services that are scalable and efficient while improving overall service and reducing cost. Let us look at HR roles. Traditionally, we have always had these roles which are reacting to problems, such as reduction and avoid large capital investment costs or insufficient resources available. But when we look at the modern business strategies, we say we allow companies to focus on their core competencies, keeping with cutting edge technology, creating value for organization and its customers, and building partnership. Now, when you look at the last aspect, which is building partnership, is where we are now looking at, as Amadalo, my strength will be in employee relations. Someone else, their strength will be in learning and development. So if I'm going to get an outsourcing company to come into my company, I will look for learning and development as an area which is of my less strength and not the area where I have strong. So I build partnership with another company or another HR person whose strength is in learning and development. So that's why we build partnership. What can be outsourced? Let's look at that. I have mentioned finance and accounting, procurement, indenting and international sourcing, manufacturing, sales and marketing. We look at those girls and boys whom we meet on the streets or we meet in supermarket. Sometimes we call them push girls or promoters. They're actually outsourced. They are not, they may be wearing my brand, Baseline, or they may be wearing the brand of Accurex, but they are not from Accurex. They are only doing this on behalf of Accurex or Baseline, but they are coming from a different company. That company is the one which is running their day-to-day activities. We look at construction industry. Construction industry, I know that most contractors, they don't own what they build. They are outsourced. You get a contractor, get an engineer who will come and handle the day-to-day production or building of a building. When that building ends, it goes back to the owner. So you outsourced the construction process. Legal process. Most of the time when we have got a case, we have to look for a lawyer, and that is actually you are outsourcing that particular service to a lawyer because you are not a lawyer yourself. Or knowledge management. We have got learning and development. I've mentioned learning and development. Many of you may not understand why I say learning and development, but learning and development is very simple that we may have a learning and development manager or officer or training manager within the organization. All right, are we okay now?
Yes, sorry for that.
I'm saying that when we talk about training, we have got training manager in-house, but the training manager cannot train, say, engineers because they are not engineers themselves, or they may not train medics because they themselves are not medics. or they may not train any other section because that's not their strength. So what they do is they coordinate the activity and get a specialist to come and do the training. And that is why we say that we can also outsource learning and development. What about recruitment? Many of us recruit for other companies. And when we recruit for those companies, what it means is it means that those companies have outsourced that recruitment process to us or to a consultant, to an outside person. Security and guarding. This is one of the oldest aspect of outsourcing. When I was growing up, most government entities were not guarded by security, they were guarded by APs. Currently, we'll see them being guarded by security companies. That means that's an outsourced service. Transport and logistics management. All of us know that we don't carry our goods from Mombasa to Nairobi or from Nairobi to Mombasa by ourselves. We look for a company that we outsource this activity to. Information technology or IT solutions. Yes, we know our system, but who is the host of our emails? We don't host our own emails. We outsource it to another company. Call centers. Majority of call centers in this country are run by outsourced staff. Unfortunately, there are two companies that have sourced they outsourced this service of call centers offshore, not in Kenya, but outside the country. Then you have got cleaning services and housekeeping. These are some of the areas which can be outsourced. I said, let's look at the core roles of HRM because it is us who in HR who are always the culprit. And as I said earlier, we fear losing control. So what are the core roles of HR? Budgeting and payroll administration. I have generally begun with this because it takes most of our time, especially towards the end of the month and even beginning of the month, because after the payroll has been done, there are statutories that we need to pay, and it takes too much of our time. And therefore, what happens is we want to hoard this. Yet, if this thing was taken away from us and given to someone else, we will be more productive in our role. Leading and supervision. A few years ago, I went for an interview and I was asked, how many people were you supervising? And to my own amazement, I said 15. And they asked me, as a HR manager, you are supervising 15 people, directly or indirectly? I said directly. And actually that was my undoing. Why? Because as a HR manager, you do not need to supervise 15 people. You need to supervise a maximum of 5 people who, and then indirectly you supervise many other people. These 5 people will be people from various sections of HR. But rather than keeping that huge number within your HR department, you say you are supervising 15. It's because all the branch managers of the company that I was working for were reporting to me, which was actually overworking me because it was more of operational. This could have gone to an operations manager rather than come to HR. And therefore, even leave management were to come to me, which indirectly was overworking. Employee advocate, rules and regulations, policies and procedures, strategic plan. You are the same person who will participate in creating these rules and regulations and then also share them out with the employees. We have got employee or industry relations, disciplinary issues, and all sorts of things. they are in the docket of the HRM. Personnel and administration files and all that, who keeps the files, the registry is all under the HR. As I mentioned earlier, leave management, absence, and all sorts of things, all coming under you. Then learning and development. This is another role that is considered to be core to the HR. Then organizing. Think about anything, including end of year parties and all that, you'll find that HR has to be involved in one way or the other. Staffing, which recruitment and selection. This is a major role of HR. And being a major role for HR, then it means that HR does not have any free space to do any other thing. They have to keep on rotating about on these seven key roles. But let's be critical. If we talk about these 7 roles, are we all aligned that these roles can be handled by one person? I would say easy that if we were to outsource some of those roles, it becomes much easier for the HR to be available to do many other things. But because we want to hang on to them, we want to have control, we end up having to lose them. So despite the fact that we have said that those are things that needs to be done, why do we find that we have got issues with outsourcing? It is because we need to understand the pros and cons of outsourcing. Unless we understand the pros and cons of outsourcing, we will end up just thinking that, oh yeah, outsourcing is a panacea for all things. But how do you handle it? It's the process of handling it that makes all the difference. Now, the problems with outsourcing is loss of control. Sometimes, as I said earlier, is that it is the fear of HR that they will lose control, or increased cash flow. If you are in data management, you may find that you are losing, there's confidentiality and security issues. There's a problem of selection of supplier. Sometimes you are dependent too much on the service provider, or the loss of staff, or moral problems, time consuming. Also, we have got provider may not understand business environment. In other words, when you are procuring the services of the outsourcing company, you may not have chosen the correct company. And therefore, you find that you as the HR, you are doing most of the job. Or a provider too slow to react to changes in strategy. We have got data breaches, quality control, operation restoration, or, as I said earlier, that there are 2 companies that I know in Kenya who have outsourced their call centers, some all the way to Singapore and others to our neighbors in India. Maintenance of strategic alignment or political instability can also be a problem with outsourcing. Like in 2017, there was, when we had political, when we were politicking about elections, the companies that were outsourcing, most of them could not, you cannot actually ensure that the production continues as it was planned, because the people are not in your control. They are in the control of another company or another person, and therefore you cannot call them directly. You have to call this person, and that person calls another person, and all that. Then there are changes in technology and exposure to hacking. That one is common, especially when you are dealing with data, as I said earlier. specialization to the point that the niche demand is no longer necessary. Now, I'll give an example. I had said that I'll not touch on giving example, but we have got two companies in this country which specializes in a particular field. For example, Kenya Breweries and Coca-Cola. Those two companies have got a niche demand. So if you get too specialized, or the outsourcing company becomes too specialized, is that your employees become kind of not able to get jobs elsewhere. Like those who are in production of beer, unless you have got another company that is manufacturing beer, and you have got 10,000 people, now you only have got like 5,000 who can be absorbed. And what will happen to the 5,000 extra employees? It simply means that you have specialized so much to the point that you no longer are able to be absorbed anywhere. When to outsource? According to the model that I've put up there, which was developed by PricewaterhouseCoopers, is that you must look at two things, and those things are supposed to be either you may look at it from either from the top here at the strategic level or from the competitive level. So you have to look at it from that particular, and then build up a matrix. It should be competitive. You should look at the competitiveness of what you want to outsource. If it is very strategic, do not outsource. If it is non-strategic, it's hazy. You can either outsource or you can retain it. If it's non-competitive but it's very strategic, you retain it in-house if possible. If not, then you can give it out. But if it's non-competitive and non-strategic, then that is what you outsource. So in other words, what I'm driving at is you have to be able to pick up, look at your objectives, look at what are your core activities, and say this can be strategic and this is non-strategic. And therefore you look at it, this is competitive and this is not non-competitive. And therefore, where you find that you are not able to achieve the goal, you're not an expert in that particular area, that is the area where you look for help. Then how do you implement outsourcing? The program initiation must be opinions and ideas shared to form a draft contract. In other words, get the outsourcing company and get your internal staff and let them mingle, let them discuss, let them look at exactly what needs to be done and to what extent it needs to be done. And then you have got second step is program implementation. Transferring of staff. This is where we normally call onboarding. The company that is outsourcing, that you're outsourcing from must come and learn the staff and know the number of staff, know their capabilities, see if they are able to absorb all of them or if they'll be able to absorb a few, and if need be is to if need be, they may have to re-interview the staff. And as you transfer the staff, this is again where the whole problem comes in, and especially the problem of industrial relations. Some of the staff, you may have stayed with them for quite a long time, say 10 years. Are you just going to transfer them to an outsourcing company? No, you must have a proper termination of their contract. following the laid down procedures in law. Then you develop a service level agreement between you, the client and the contractor, whereby there are areas where the contractor will be able to handle and the areas where the client will be able to handle. Establish communications between partners. You now become social partners, just like an organization becomes a social partner with a union. Also, when you are dealing with a contractor or an outsourcing company, you become social partners. Even when you want us to recruit for you, we must sign a contract and establish a communication. What times, who should we be able? And then you see like that communication matrix must be well elaborated. Then actual transfer of the service. Is it recruitment? Is it learning and training, learning and development? Is it labor outsourcing? Is it payroll outsourcing? Is it whatever area? Is it logistics? Then we must come up with the actual transfer of the service. Then establish management procedures. Then we have a contract agreement and then contract fulfillment. These four processes must be followed. Just don't start from contract agreement when you should have begun initiation. Don't move into a program implementation when you would have begun at program initiation. The flow has to be from program initiation, program implementation, contract agreement. As soon as you have signed that contract, now the contractor kicks in and now starts taking over some of the roles that you were handling as an organization. How to choose a PO vendor or an outsourcing company. Define your requirements and review potential vendors. This is a problem area. If you don't get your requirements correct, don't expect that an outsourcing company will come and do that for you. They come in to plug and play. And that's the reason why that duration between the program initiation and program implementation needs to be a prolonged time whereby the two parties are discussing and understanding each other's needs. Make sure that those needs, requirements are well elaborated. Put together a request for proposal, RFP, and source vendors, or some people go to rather than an RFP alone, they say RFP and an RFQ. So you request for proposals together with a quotation. Choose the right vendor for your company. Don't just say, oh, because this particular company is an all-rounder. We may not be suitable for your organization because that's not our niche area. So you must choose the right vendor for your company. Negotiate the contract. And as I said earlier, the process again has to follow the way it is. Those on the left-hand side comes first, then before you come to this. Don't start managing relationship when you are supposed to be defining your requirements. Then transition the work and processes to your chosen vendor. This transitioning is very, very, very critical and important. Then you manage your relationship. What to look out for? As you embark on this process, let us give you some basic advice. A good outsourcing company should help you decide which parts of your business you need to keep in-house. Beware of a company that tries squeezing core processes out of you. For me, as an outsourcing company, for me as a company that wants business, I may just want to have all your 450 employees. I may want to have all your 1,000 employees. Why? Because I know the higher the number, the higher the income. But is that really helpful to you? That's why there's that requirement that we must be able to help the client to know which one is core for them and which one they can be able to outsource. Or even if it's transitioning, don't just transition all of it at the same time. You transition gradually. A good outsourcing company values the work of every employee. This enables a better connection between their company and the organization and can help increase productivity. In other words, what we are talking about here is that we do not come and take away the employees from the organization. We actually ensure that there's that continuity relationship, because majority of the people who will be supervising are those who are holding core positions within your organization. And therefore, it becomes more important that we let this employee know that they are offering a service to this particular client. And therefore, it is important for them to maintain that relationship. A good business processing outsourcing company's objective is to help your organization boost performance without consuming too much money. Wow, but is that what the business language says? No, the business language says that let me squeeze in as much as I can at the least expense. So I give you very little, but I demand high returns. So again, I say a good BPO company's objective is to help your organization boost performance without consuming too much money. In other words, we want to help you reduce your costs. Therefore, choose your BPO company carefully. Look for evidence that it can deliver the tasks well and on time. The questions which are very critical for you to ask is, number one, how can I find the right candidate? How to manage the outsourcer I settle the contract? These two are very critical. Finding the right company and then also managing the relationship that comes with it. Sometimes we give organizations advice. We may not be the one who eventually win the tender or the contract, but it is advisable that seek an independent contractor or consultant to be able to give you advice. If it's an area where I do not have expertise, I'll give you advice that will be only theoretical. And therefore you need to get another company or another person who will also give you expert advice. So it is important, before you just jump into getting a BPO company to help you out, for you to go and get assistance. With that, I come to an end of my presentation and await for your questions, if there are any.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen, for that. I believe you've been able to give us the end-to-end process and even what to consider when we are talking or thinking about outsourcing. We have one question from Christine Mbugwa, and she's asking, how does one compare rates for outsourcing companies? How do I figure out if I'm being overcharged for the services being offered? Stephen.
Okay, when we talk about outsourcing company, we have got a standard fee. One of the things that you may look at as a company that wants to outsource is that what is your basic cost? Are you able to meet up that basic cost internally, or when you outsource, are you being overcharged? For example, I'll ask for in the area of recruitment. Recruitment, when someone seeks to a contractor for recruiting purposes, they have got a budget already for recruiting. If you find that a recruiter is charging you 3-4 times the price or the pay, monthly pay of that particular person you want to recruit, that person is exorbitant. you count how much time will you have used. For example, the HR team to advertise, develop a role profile, advertise, long list, short list, interview, first interview, second interview, and all that. And basically, you will find that if the cost, and remember, you are putting the cost at your rate, you as the person internal handling that particular process. For a recruiter, especially the HR, you are going to say, if the HR is going to recruit, how much time are they going to use? Divide their salary by that particular time. How many people are going to be involved? What will be the cost of advertisement? Put all those together. If you find that the cost is higher, then whoever is asking for whatever they are asking, compared to what you would have spent you yourself internally, then you must be able to consider that which looks reasonable. The other thing that you must put into consideration is that sometimes cheap is expensive. Not sometimes, but all the time, because I may give you a cheaper rate today, but then at the end of the day, that cheaper rate becomes a cost to you, which you may start wondering, why did I have to spend this money when I could have spent more and gotten this thing out? The area of outsourcing, especially of labor, is that it has got a lot of risks, which is being absorbed by the outsourcing company, like employee relations. It's no longer you as the employer or as the client who is going to take responsibility and the risks that are involved in that. It becomes the responsibility of the outsourcing company, because that is their cost. And if it means hiring a lawyer to go to court during a court hearing, it becomes their responsibility, not for them to come back to you and say, hey, we are incurring a lot of costs to hire a lawyer to go to court for this labor issue, therefore give us some more money. That will not be a good deal.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for that. We have another question from Roshini Shash. Can an employer outsource certain position, yet the staff holding those positions are members of the union? The reason could be that the employer is finding the CBA costly due to the demands made by the union. So can they move that obligation to an outsourcing company?
It is able to do so, but under particular conditions. First and foremost is that you must terminate contract with all employees legally, and you should not use outsourcing as a way of running from your obligations as an employer. One of the obligations that you may need to understand is that when you are terminating people legally, you have to pay them their service pay. And there was a case in a company that I was working for, I'll not mention their names here, which was taking over a unionized company to outsource their employees. The union went to court, and it was clearly declared that a client or a company cannot use outsourcing as a way of poor labor relations. You must be able to understand that the union have a responsibility to take care of the employees' welfare. If you are taking good care of the employees' welfare, then there'll be no need for you to struggle to get out of that relationship. Unfortunately, some employers have tended to think that that union are unnecessary evil. that they are there just to come and harass and all that. But sometimes you may have to sit down with the union and say, okay, fine, this area we are able to do and this area we are not able to do. The answer again to the problem of some unions who are unreasonable, because there are some unions who are unreasonable, is as you start getting as many people in outsourcing, union will have no right to get those people who have been outsourced to become their members. So how do you do that? You start by a small number who are not in the union, or you get a few people, outsourcing company to start supplying you with a few people. And as they start supplying you a few people, you start actually having these people slowly being shifted to the outsourcing company, because you're now adding to their number. As you add to their number, eventually the union has got no numbers, and if it has got no numbers, no member at all in the company, then this is just to be. The recognition dies off. But it's an area that maybe must be navigated very carefully. And if anybody has got an interest in that particular area, they want to outsource and it's unionizable, I'll be willing to come and look at their scenario and advise according to the scenario, because it is not just a one jacket fit all.
Totally agree with you. And the fact that you're in this outsourcing business, I think they should be able to reach out to you for more information around CBA. And another question from Christine, suppose you have a dispute between the employer and contractor. So here the contractor, I presume, is the third party of the outsourced service. Which body would you use to mediate if there's a dislink between the employer or the business and the third party contractor?
Okay, there are three levels. You see, like yes. When we do a contract, the contract is supposed to have its own internal mechanism of resolution of disputes. The second one is through the mediation bodies. We have got several mediators within the country who can do that mediation. And then third is through the Employment and Labor Relations Court. Why Employment and Labor Relations Court? Is because Employment and Labor Relations Court deals with employment issues. And it deals with that relationship between an employer and employee, deals between an employer organization and another employee organization, and all the relationships around employment can be handled by the Employment and Labor Relations Court. So those are the three avenues in which disputes can be solved.
All right, thank you so much. We received 2 questions on our email. I'll read one of them. The issue of control around employees and processes that are outsourced. Who has greater authority over these processes or employees? Is it the employing company or is it the outsourced party?
When you're talking about control, what kind of control are we talking about? I'll give you example of manufacturing process. With manufacturing processes, all the processes are done by the client or the person, the company that is the owner of the end product. Sorry, again, I'll have to use breweries. Breweries have got the mandate to know exactly what quality of product they need to produce. And therefore, they have got their systems and processes, their engineering aspect, their fermentation aspect, and all that. All that outsourcing companies to be able to do is to plug in and offer the employment service. And when they offer the employment service, what that means is that they cannot on the other hand and say that they want to control how it is done. It is only how the employees do it. And that's why I said that the supervision will come from the mother company or the company that that is seeking outsourced services. But when it comes to labor issues, control is entirely in the hands of the outsourcing company. Why? Because if there's an issue of indiscipline, the person who is supposed to be answerable or is supposed to be the outsourcing company. Because all that me as the company that that has sought outsourcing services want is for my production to continue, or for my services to be delivered. If you are not delivering, if your employee is not delivering, then I must jump in quickly and say, hey, you are not delivering. And therefore, how you deal with that employee, I don't know. Like, for example, guarding services. Suppose a guard is found sleeping on duty. Is that the responsibility of me as the owner of the premise? No. I call the person who has given me that employee and say, this employee out. Make sure that my gate is manned. So that control of that particular employee is not mine. It's entirely on the outsourcing company. So the processes are with the process owner, but only we can come in as outsourcing company and advise because of either experience or because we have learned the motions, and therefore we can say, okay, if I'm to improve these processes, this and this needs to be done. But actually the implementer, the actual process re-engineering, it is not ours, it is for the organization.
Right. Thank you so much, Stephen, for that. I'll read another question. You've talked about strategic functions and strategic functions that are outsourced. What happens if there's a mismatch, that these unstrategic functions don't match with the strategic functions? Then what happens?
Please come again.
You've talked about strategic functions and unstrategic functions, that we should outsource the unstrategic functions. What happens if the outsourced services, which are unstrategic, they mismatch with the strategic functions?
Now, that what happens around there is that the relationship between the strategic and unstrategic area was not clearly defined. What I mean by that is that when you find that there's a mismatch even in strategic plan itself, as you cascade it downwards, you realize that at the end, it's no longer strategic. Yep. But how have you cascaded it downwards? Because it is supposed to be from your strategic plan that you cascade down, you break down until you reach that level whereby it's no longer strategic, but you are still feeding into strategic process. So if there's a mismatch, it is important for the two parties to sit down and actually realign. And that's the reason why during the SLA writing, we say that there should be regular meetings between the parties so that they can be able to harmonize areas where they find that something is amiss. It's not just a matter of that, oh, I have a 3-year contract or I have a 1-year contract and therefore I will appear only when the contract is being renewed. No, it's supposed to be a continuous relationship whereby we are all working towards achieving the strategic goals of the organization.
All right, thank you so much, Stephen. We'll take one final question from Thomas. He's asking, how do you handle the union in outsourcing, especially that the most of the outsourced tasks are lower cadre and fall within the preview of the union?
Oh, my brother Tenga, Shuba, thank you for that question. Now, when you are looking at outsourcing, outsourcing is that, as we said, is that you are getting the activities that were initially being by the company being given to a third party. Now, how do you handle that? Is that the union must come to the term whereby they understand that these staff are no longer with the mother company. And if, as I said earlier, if these people had been with you for a long time, then you must ensure that you terminate their contract officially before you give them out to a contractor. If you do not, then there is no way that an outsourcing company can come in and lay claim on these employees while they are still in the union and say that they are now their employees. No, that way then the outsourcing company will have breached the recognition agreement that you have between the trade union and the mother company. And that is where many of us who are in outsourcing business as a business and not as a HR service, we go wrong, because we come in because we are interested in what we think should be done and not what should be done. And the end result becomes that most of the people who are there do it very mechanical. So what I'm driving at is that, Bwana Kenga, is that you have to ensure that these lower cadre people who have been in employment for a long time, when you want to transfer them to an outsourcing company, you must be able to detach, first of all, terminate the contract so that the contract between the two of you is no longer in existence. So when they are coming in afresh, they are coming in under a service provider and not as your employees. Otherwise, the union will be on your neck and they will win that case in court.
Okay, thank you, Stevie. I hope you'll allow me to give you one more question from Tom. He says, Mr. Amadalo says that payroll is one of the programs to be retained by the company. However, of late, most organizations are outsourcing their payroll programs. What do you have to say for this?
Payroll, as I said earlier, is that it occupies a majority of, or a bigger portion of the HR's time. And I know of bigger organizations in this country who have outsourced their payroll management out. And the reason why they have done this is very simple: to ease the time of the HR and the team that was in the payroll department for other strategic issues. My take will be simple like this: there is no role that, you know, as I said earlier, is that that's actually a back office thing, back room. If it's a back room thing, you can outsource it. If it's a front office thing, then you cannot. Is payroll management your core business? If it's not, give it to a company like Bachelor, give it to a company like PwC, give it to a company like PKF to manage that payroll system for you, Oracle or whichever company. But, and especially because of the other issues that come up with it, like for example, the statutories, NSF, NHIF, pay as you earn, and all that kind of thing. But unfortunately, many companies, when they do outsourcing of payroll, they are running away from tax. They're trying to evade tax. So they tell the outsourcing company, oh, you pay and you sort out with KRA when it comes to tax issues. Yet they are not giving them the whole amount to do the payroll. Again, when you're doing payroll management, there are two ways people do payroll management. One is that we only handle the back office of the payroll and then give to you the finished product of payroll, and then you pay. The other one is that we do everything from back office and then also issue our own check to the bank to disseminate the salaries to the respective employees. Now, the second aspect of payroll management, whereby we are saying that we have outsourced, yes, but we are covering everything and paying salaries. It has been said it's a precedent in courts of Kenya and even in South Africa that whoever pays your salary is your employer. And now that becomes a problem. I'm not managing this stuff. I'm not supervising this stuff. I'm not giving them day-to-day roles and all that. I'm not checking on their performance, but mine is I have been paying. So when I am enjoined in a court case, how do I wriggle myself out? So I would say that the easier way of doing this thing will have been for one to outsource the labor and the payroll of that particular team and remain with the core staff and their payroll within the company.
Okay, I thank you so much. I see time is really not on our side. One final question, which I believe is the final, is the union is at liberty to approach the staff in the new company, that is the outsourced firm, and pursue their agenda from there. What is your comment on this?
Okay, my friend Jared, thank you for that question. But now, when we talk about union being at liberty to approach, an outsourcing company is actually a negotiator on behalf of this particular employee. So it's either the union or the outsourcing company. That is the stand that we have in this country. And that's what has happened actually in the UK. Most unions had to become outsourcing bodies themselves. In this country, when in Kenya, for example, is that when a union approaches an outsourcing company does not have a work for itself. It's giving a service to someone else. And therefore it is negotiating, getting a job for someone. And now you are going to come in and start now looking at the welfare of this particular person. You become a third party. And therefore you are not, to whom can you now negotiate the salaries with, for example, and terms with, for example. Therefore, union, unless they re-engineer themselves at this particular time, they will be at liberty, yes, but at the end of the day, whom are they going to negotiate with the terms? Whom are they going to sign agreement with, recognition agreement with? I had a same issue with Kufkao about 3 years ago. And when we reached the Ministry of Labor, they were asked these questions and they were not able to answer. And the case was dismissed. Yet they had recruited about 700 of my employees who were working for various organizations. I said, those are not all the employees that I have. I have got 5,800 employees. Now, if you're talking about my employees, then you still have not even reached the threshold of 50+1. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, union will still try, but in this particular aspect, they will have a challenge, which is the employee can continue being their member, but they will not be coming through me.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen. I believe now we've come to the end of this session. I want to thank everyone who was able to join in us this morning and for a very insightful wealth of knowledge. I believe we live here more clearer whenever we talk about outsourcing. It's not just a matter of running away, because I know most of us do outsourcing just to run away from these functions. But thank you for your insights, for your knowledge. We're sure to reach out to you in case we have any more questions. And to the members who are able to join us this morning, if you would want to reach out to us, our contact information is on your screen right now. You can write to us on email at info@accurex.co.ke, or give us a call, WhatsApp us, or SMS us on 0715 767676. Also, you can reach out to us on 0784989898. Make sure you follow us on social media just to see what we are planning in the space of the webinar series that we hold every other Wednesday from 11 a.m. to noon. Other than that, continue keeping safe, maintaining distance, washing your hands and wearing your masks. And God bless you all. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Purity and Professor.
Yes, thank you so much, Joseph. Also, thank you to join. And Joseph, they have a few comments. Thank you for the presentation, Prof. And Neria, thank you for the informative session. And Gerald, thanks all. So thank you very much and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.